from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Pretty wild. Welcome, family. I am Rob Yox. This is Full Spectrum Universe. We are the embattled broadcast that has gone into the muck, waved our way through the trenches to explore the past, to remain in the present, which is the now, to dictate the terms of our future. Welcome. We have an exciting show for you tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the biological cycle of spiritual expansion, plus, second topic, which we don't always do, we're going to be talking about the Schumann Resonance and what the hell is happening with the Schumann Resonance. We've got pictures. We've got some different things to talk about when it comes to that. There are a absolute multitude of speculation of what this could potentially be. I think I have one of the answers, or some sort of avenue which we can explore and maybe go further like we always do. So tonight we'll have a slideshow. We're going to do a presentation. I just want to say that Watchers Talk is going to be doing there has an event coming up on the 2nd of next month, which everybody will check out. We're going to put the link in the chat for you to purchase your tickets. It is on the Bush family, doing deep dives into political pasts, but also some of their nefarious nature and their ties to many secret societies. But with that being said, so Watchers Talk will be putting that up as well. I'm sure he'll be announcing it, but it has been announced on Facebook. So I'm going to go ahead and promote my friend, one of my best friends. I waited a couple of days to drop our link, which is probably going to be a week or two after that, for the next energetic workshop, which is going to be past life traumas, current life traumas, how to move past them, how to delineate and find them, and also how to evaluate them to see the context and the linings of which to teach us how to step into these new future together without the baggage of the past or past lives themselves. So this was an eye-opener for me, right? I have context of certain age ranges. We're going to talk about it. I also have some of the words that are being categorized within the heading of that change. And this goes through a person's life cycle. And if you have children or you're finding your age in this gambit of information, it gives you a greater sense of maybe your soul purpose, or what your purpose is now in this new earth that's coming and unfolding around us every day. Big props to Eric J. Hecker, who was out there with Dr. Stephen Greer and got a lot of plays on TikTok with his speech that he made, his presentation. Absolutely incredible. Congratulations to him. So please, as you can see, we are probably under the radar for this show going live. We have been spacing our shows out just a little bit more, just so we can get a little bit deeper into the research itself and be a little bit more robust in the way that we present this information. But please like, share, subscribe on all platforms. We appreciate that. Nothing we say here will get you in trouble on any platform. I keep this very, very regulated so that we can remain within the river that is YouTube, and hopefully pick up more rocks and more fish on our way down the river. So please do that. And one last thing is to leave a comment when this is finished. It truly helps the algorithm. Also, we have super thanks and super chats open. If you're inclined to donate, you can do it that way, and I would appreciate it if you did, if you can. If not, just say prayers for us and positive energies our way. That is more than well enough. All proceeds go back into the funding of this program. There is a lot of cost that goes into these programs, but I wouldn't have it any other way. This is my place. This is my home. This is my family. This is my cathartic moment throughout the days that we go to this 9 to 5 and really dig in. So without further ado, we're already 5 minutes in. We got a lot to cover tonight. let's get into the info. Yeah, here we go. Biological cycle of spiritual expansion and the Schumann reports, or recent Schumann reports. Sorry. Here we go. So, opening salvo, we're going to start this off with some thoughts of mine while going through this, right? While we're growing as a young adult, as a child, information is coming at us at such an unparalleled amount. It's just insane. Now, certain ages, this information flies over our heads. And as we get older, we see knowledge where knowledge and wisdom wasn't present before. So it makes sense that as we grow older, with more age comes wisdom. With that wisdom becomes more responsibility. And with that responsibility comes a greater purpose to the community, right? And the way we evaluate information changes, everything changes as we go. So there are certain echelons that we're going to talk about tonight where you may feel that as a child you were in this state, and we can explain these states in different ways too, because it may not be your super clear or super present that you were in these states, but as an awakening person or an awakening consciousness within this time, in this point and position, within this dimensional reality, I mean, I don't believe that humanity has been at this precipice ever before. Maybe in a way of symbolic nature, but not with the exact points of reference that we have today. And that's important. That's an important thing to look at. So growing up and having access to these informations becomes really a point of interest for me, right? Everybody has their journey of their soul awakening, or when they woke up, right? Well, this may give us credence to think that maybe we woke up a little bit earlier than we thought. And I think that that's important, right? So it can really give some context into this journey we call life, but also this journey we call the awakening, right? And also this greater future where we'll be dictating these terms. It truly comes in at every angle, at every level, and to evaluate it and to go back and rethink our history as a personal history is absolutely incredible. We all have these moments that while we're in this awakening state, there's levels to it. And when we ascend to this next level, we can go back and look at these past moments, whether it be a trauma or a good moment, and see it from a different perspective. And I think that this information sort of does that. So let's start, right? So we're going to talk about the biological age of 12. We start at 12 because 12 is when we really start to sort of understand the world around us a little bit more, right? Up to 12, we're learning a lot. We're learning a lot. I see a lot of people in the audience tonight. We got Cranky Pants McGee. Awesome name. I'm going to say that every time. Ainsmouth, Neural, Valentina, Jay Rocco. And Jay, I will be emailing you back. You had such a wonderful email, my friend. And I really love that you sent me a topic to go over. And if anybody else has a topic that they want to see on this show, please send it. Send it. I will do it. I promise you. Andromeda, Nina, Rockers. Welcome, 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 everybody. John D, let's keep going up. And that's it for now. But I love exploring what you guys want to see too, because the conversations in the chat is the best part of this entire broadcast, right? It truly is the best part. And it's eye-opening. It's intuitive, and there's a lot of people with a lot of information, right? And this is why I suggest people always open up some sort of channel like YouTube or a short like TikToks. Give it give it away, give it to people. And I can tell you the amount of people who will watch you for what you're doing is, whether it's one person, 50 people, doesn't matter. It becomes this amazing moment of connection, right? So let's start with biological age 12. Remember, this is talking about spiritual expansion. So we're going to briefly review biological cycles of spiritual expansion in the original human DNA, as in the structure of the four corners of the four faces of man, there is also the four main pillars of spiritual foundation for human biological cycles. So, biological age 12, which is the soul or initiate, levels 4, 5, and 6. Prior to the year 2000, most all earthlings were blocked in their DNA and unable to access or begin full soul embodiment by age 12. This is a mutation in the genetics that we have. In the last 26,000 years, and prior to 2,000 years ago, about 68% of the Earth's population met partial soul accretion levels at some point in their lifetime and were reincarnated back into the 3D again. A very small percentage were freed of the karmic wheel, while the rest were trapped into servitude in this underworld that people will call this. Again, we call it the Ark Planet, but some people call this an underworld, right? So after 2,000 years, this accretion is possible above the 4D at age 12 and happens in approximately 20% of the population, all of which are indigos. The rest of us have to catch up in our biology later or have specific contracts to do so, right? So what we're talking about here is that the progeny of but after the 2000 years becomes more and more insightful, more and more intuitive, and we as adults, me myself at 42, are catching up to these children what in the spiritual sense, which is incredible. This is why we say the next generations are here to learn from us and garner that information and rocket ship to the next levels. Like we talk about the 5D and the 4D. And I believe while we will reach the 4D, our children will reach the 5D and at a much earlier incarnation than we are, right? So, one of the things they talk about here is the soul. So, let's go back to the soul matrix because this is important to understand the definitions of what's being put in front of us. So, this is also called the second triad of intelligence, right? So, we could talk about that too. But each soul is an individual consciousness unit that originated from the external God source or infinite consciousness, all that is. Every soul has a unique blueprint that has divine purpose, which is to learn, evolve, experience all aspects of creation, and eventually return back home and reunite with the external consciousness or the collective consciousness or infinite consciousness or external God source, whichever you want to call it, right? With your higher power. The soul body is the threefold principle of creative, imagination, and receptivity, and feeling perception, and holds the record memories of the consciousness. The soul acts as the repository of accumulated memories from the physical or external experiences that are translated into the internal energetic reality of the consciousness of being. These many lifetimes of experiences are recorded into the soul body, which translates into memories that are embedded in the cellular matrix of our body. Now, as you can see, it starts to open up more. So, we talk about without a soul, NPC. So, without a soul or a soul body or a whole soul body, the connected of all these functions will either become distorted or non-existent, and as the qualities of experience and blocked memories inside the body, right? The soul is the higher sensory body, which allows higher emotional states and feelings to be experienced, along with continually developing sensory abilities. The soul allows our heart to deeply feel the love of God as a unifying force. It acts as the bridge between the soul and the monad body in that is united in the inner Holy Spirit when ignited in the higher hearts or the thymus area of the body. So the soul matrix is the first spiritual triad of when a human being starts to connect and integrate the soul body energies and the heart complex during the first stages of this process that's called the spiritual awakening or spiritual ascension. The entire soul body is made of three layers that interact together into a horizontal triad body. Each of these layers, 4D, 5D, and 6D, correlate to the same chakra, its colored waves and spectrum, and the dimensional time and space within the future. So hopefully that gives a little bit more perspective on what this is, right? And how important understanding this is. And if you have questions, please put it in all caps lock within the chat, and I will star it and I will answer it when we start to get into interludes here. But how many people remember when they're 12 years old? I do. I remember a couple of different things. And I remember a specific memory that was a dream that became reality. I'm going to give it to you too. And this is how I knew I was a bit intuitive, even at a young age. Now, did I know what it meant at the time? No. But in my later years, I examined this and I saw it. So I used to go outside for recess around this age, right? Let's say 12, 13, whatever. We used to play football and we would throw the football around. And I had a memory of one of the bigger kids. He was a little bit bigger boned, and some other really skinny kid colliding. And I mean colliding in a way where their heads slapped together, their bodies just impacted, both fell down and crying. One breaks an arm. Now, this was a dream, an exact dream, down to the interpretation of the tension felt before this actual contact, the mood, the smells, the sounds, the visual. It was all replicated. Now, the question becomes, did I manifest this reality because I dreamt it first? And I did feel a tremendous sense of deja vu. Or was something giving me a glimpse? Was my higher self giving me a glimpse into an alternate reality where the same thing happened? Or was it showing me something from my 5D self, sending back that memory from the future? Right? Those are the possibilities. So this is why we examine these things, so we can look at these paradigms in our life and say, holy crap, like this could be something more than I thought it was. And for a long, long time, I've never forgotten this dream. And I can't tell you why. I don't know why. But when this happened, I started to shake. When I saw it in actual life, in real life, I started to shake. I felt sick and I started to sweat like nobody's business. And yes, we were outside playing football, so I was sweating already. But I remember stopping, and I was actually on the sideline at this time, and I had almost stopped sweating. And then all of a sudden, I was sweating bullets. My teacher looked at me when I came back in and said that I looked pale as a ghost. I was pale, pale, pale. So something was happening in this moment. Well, unbeknownst to me, 12-year-old child saying, "Hey, I remember this. This is in front of me a few nights ago, right?" So this is another reason why we're exploring these things, because it's really wild to see this, right? Let's keep going. So the next one will be the biological age of 22, which is the oversoul or adept, 7, 8, and 9. So prior to this 2,000 years that we talked about before, and the blockage of the DNA, and this creating an inability of access to begin the oversoul embodiment, most now, I will say about 40%, by the age of 22 are able to reach their oversoul embodiment, right? This is also, again, it's possible that these are all indigos as well, right? And the rest of us still have to do our thing. But the mondanic waves for biological embodiment become available, or became available to us in 2009 on this planet, and are undergoing further ascension development now. Prior monad embodiment is by specific individual agreement. This means for our soul embodiment, the oversoul or monad is beginning to possibly inhabit the biology right now as we are, right? So they're saying that 20% of 22-year-olds now are in this mode, but 40% of the entire population can access this oversoul or adept level as we speak. So, of course, the big definition here is the oversoul. So, what's the oversoul matrix? Because the oversoul matrix is the embodiment of that oversoul, right? So, this is the harmonic triad of the 7, 8, and 9D layers of the light body. These layers are also called the mondanic matrix as well. The heart brain complex is an intelligent structure that best can be defined as the original and organic design and function of the collective human soul or oversoul matrix and its cellular memory interface with the planetary grid consciousness network. And as a part of the mechanics of the energy structure of the many fields of consciousness, the morphogenic field layers that control time and space, the heart brain complex is a consciousness structure and architecture that has been largely dormant within the planetary body fields. It has remained dormant primarily for the genetic mutation of the genetic and negative alien agenda entities and their inorganic enslavement, which is on this planet as well. The heart brain complex is a part of the planetary nervous system or grid network and the nerve cells of the planetary body that directly message into and through the individual human body, which is crazy, right? With what we're talking about and what we've seen over the last day or so with all of these different Schumann things going down, right? We're going to throw a picture up real quick. When it looks like this, there might be something to say about it, right? And this is why this actually was a perfect fitting for what we're going to talk about towards the end of the show, which is the Schumann. Tell me that's not the wildest Schumann resonance you've ever seen. I've never seen anything like this, and I've studied the Schumann thoroughly, right? This is what we normally see where these glitches are. But you see also within the beginnings of that day there is a solar flare which is shooting it through the roof. And then the patterns reveal themselves after that. Now, a lot of people are probably getting excited because they understand what's happening here. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it, right? So let's keep going. Let's get through this so we can get to it. So next, I believe we've passed through this part. Yep. Now, this next section was something that I didn't like the name of it. So I changed it. I changed it because I don't believe that this is what it's called, to be completely honest, right? I call this the spiritual taskmaster. Now, when I did my research, it was called the Saturn taskmaster. And if we know what Saturn stands for and what the symbolism of Saturn is, you probably would have changed it too. Because I don't believe that seeing it from that perspective is going to be helpful. I think that seeing it through this, guys, might be a little bit more digestible, right? So the spiritual taskmaster is age 27. And as you can see, there's a note here. It says DM on it. I don't know what that means, but it was a really cool picture. So during this cycle, preparation for catching up on soul lessons that were missed by accelerating painful or unresolved issues in a life stream will begin, right? So, how the person chooses to deal with this cycle of time determines the spiritual level that can be accessed. So, the more resistance to change, the more suffering the person will experience. The goal is to alter the life path of the being to be interested in soul's pursuit or the soul's pursuit. This is creating an early exit point or escape hatch when the soul is not sure if they want to stay here, right? And if they stay, first level ancestral miasma or miasm is activated and begins clearing, right? So, a few things about this. This is one of the times when we hear mostly about walk-ins. Now, if you don't know what a walk-in is, right? It says DM. I think not TM, but I don't know. It could be wrong. But if we know what a walk-in is when one soul leaves or one entity leaves the body, and then boom, another one comes in. This would be that time. This is the escape hatch time. Now, some are against this resistance to change. And think about yourself at 27, right? From 21 to 25, there was probably no stopping any of us, no stopping anybody. They knew best. Nobody was going to tell them who or what to be. And then as we get past that 25 mark, a subtle maturity begins to formulate our political views, our world views, um, some of the routines and habits that we still probably use to this day. This happens around that maturity checkpoint, right? And it's pretty wild to think about it. At 27 is when I actually started doing my research for my spiritual awakening. That would later come probably within 3 years after that, right? I've been on this path for over a decade now, right? Well over a decade, almost a decade and a half. But if we think about it, this research led to me opening up my eyes to different things, to my soul's purpose of archiving everything I found, right? So there is this subtle maturity that starts to seep into people. And this is why it's called a taskmaster, right? Because you're at that point where you're either going to take these challenges head on and start to clear out some of the baggage and negativity and things like that, or we're going to use the information at our disposal to facilitate that, or you throw in the towel, right? Some people do that. They throw in the towel. Now, that's not saying they can't come back and grab that towel back and say, you know what, I'm in the race now. But at 27, some people get so stuck in their routine lives that they can't see out of the weeds anymore, and they get stuck in that routine style lifestyle, right? And maybe even to take a vacation once a year. It doesn't matter. It's still a routine. Now, this for some people is very fulfilling. They feel that they're achieving things, and I can understand that 100%. But there's also people who grab life by the cojones at this point and do incredible things and strive for that next level and keep reaching and reaching and reaching. Now, both are equally as important, right? Those routine people build infrastructure. That infrastructure is used by the people who are reaching for the stars, right? And the ones that come next. It's a chain. It's a chain, right? And everything is connected. But myself being included, if I was to talk about me for a second, I have a lot of things in my life that are very routine, right? Very, very routine. But there's also things where I strive for to the stars, right? So my personal view, this is only me saying this, I think it's good to have a healthy mixture of both. A little bit of stability and a little bit of crazy, right? And that crazy is more of an exciting crazy, not chaos crazy, right? So let's keep going. So when we look at what this means, right? When we look at the taskmaster, it is a TM. You're right. I do see it now. My bad. My bad. So this goes into the next phase, right? The next phase is the silicate matrix. So the original human genetic imprint designed to manifest 12 strings of DNA or strands of DNA, which would allow for interdimensional travel and existence without deterioration of the biological form. It must be repaired, built, or activated. The original angelic human 12 strand DNA is called the Diamond Sun DNA, the Orphan original prototype for angelic humans that was created by the founders has a 24 strand DNA and is called the Double Diamond Sun Body DNA. Further, there is a 48 strand DNA, which is the founder race line called the Emerald Sun DNA, right? And it's important to be aware that there is always support given for DNA rehabilitation programs and for achieving ascension. In that, fallen entities, such as the Anunnaki hybrid fallen angelics, can choose to clear their DNA distortions and cellular alphabet scrambling that run Metatronic and anti life reversals, and an incredible amount of resource and effort has been made to assist those fallen and digressive DNA lines to rehabilitate because their genetics through rehabilitation and regenesis programs, right? So this is like I was saying, there is this mode where we start to see people who have thrown that towel in now are also given another avenue to come back and say, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it now. Nothing is beyond redemption. Now, there are some who are so wrapped up in the evil, you know, I'm not, yes, Pamela, I am not going to say that they are allowed redemption. That is not up to me. I'm not a judge. But there are some that have gone so beyond that redemption is almost impossible, right? Legit. What's going on? Sugar Bee, good to see you. Pamela, good to see you. Now, I'm not going to say that we shouldn't reach out to them who are wrapped up in that evil and offer them the ability of regenesis and rehabilitation. Because if we did that, if we did cut them off from it, we would be no better than them in that moment. Not saying overall, but in that moment. Nothing is beyond redemption. Redemption can come for everyone. I don't just mean in a spiritual sense. I mean in a physical sense. I mean in a objective sense. We have to get past the ego portions of ourselves, right? And though those ego portions tell us that certain people who have crossed us are beyond that redemption or that hand at rehabilitating the relationship between each other. Now, if you can notice changes in that person, I would say extend that hand. Try again. That's the giving of love and grace, right? That's what we're made of is love and grace and the stars and sand, right? Those things can all be rehabilitated. So we can be all rehabilitated, right? And I believe that probably a lot of us, maybe some of us, a small percentage of us, weren't always on this spiritual ascension path. We had to rehabilitate ourselves and actually forgive ourselves to move to this next phase of what we're talking about, right? So let's keep going. Now, many of you will see this avatar because the avatar teacher, which is this is a symbolic picture. And I love anime. I'm not gonna lie, I like anime a lot. And this was an incredible moment in this specific anime's you know, in this specific anime's run, I guess we could call it. So let's talk about it. Biological age of 33. Avatar teacher or Christ ritual master. 10, 11, and 12, right? So The avatar waves for biological embodiment became available in 2012 on this planet, and are undergoing further ascension development now. This means for the few oversoul embodied, the avatar is possible to begin to inhabit the biology. Most all above 12 strand indigos will have a walk in, a massive kundalini, or spiritual event at age 33, especially if they are incarnated for world teacher or world service. Many humans will have spiritual events at age 33, also to reflect this biological pattern in the DNA. When this happens, they have to start the soul accretion and move. They're basically moving up Jacob's ladder to accrete each level until the avatar levels, right? And this is because the physics of consciousness has no shortcuts. So, too much frequency exposure can damage the brain and the nervous system. That's why this is a process, right? It can't be all downloaded at once. When I talk to the ancestors, they don't download me in one shot. They give me increments. And some aren't able to be unlocked until others are figured out. It's truly incredible, right? Truly incredible. Pamela, you know, I have somewhat of the same feeling, right? Pamela says, in case you're only listening, Grace has been the uppermost in my mind during these Schumann resonance shifts. Yes, I agree. I agree. And when I was in my early 30s, right, there was, how do I phrase this properly? There was moments, right, that were very, very dark. It was after a beginning of an ascension, and more so on the mental health side. A lot of the information I was taking in was difficult to process. And it made me into a state of almost paranoia, right? And a major amount of anxiety and depression because of that. But because I was able to incrementally slow down the impulse of reading the information and getting into a more meditative practice, I was able to pull back. And now none of that exists at all. I almost feel as if I don't want to say emotionless, but things don't get me riled up like they used to, right? And it's absolutely incredible that, when you get past that point, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that you feel very alone, right? And it's just, it's it, it's a moment, and everything gets better, right? Everything gets better, right? And I see Sugar Bee said she went was you said you went for your second, right, Sugar Bee? And if you did, congrats, right? Congrats. And I believe that you're on the right path as well, right? You're getting clear images when you lay down and very vivid. I've been getting those like crazy. Now, well, I'm telling you, when we get to the Schumann, you're going to be like, what the hell? But we're going to go over some things, right? And what they're trying to pass this off as. And then you're going to give you my understanding of what it is. So let's keep going so we can get past this. So we talked about that. So let's talk about the next one, which is the avatar matrix, right? Which is what we're seeing here. The avatar matrix is the fourth harmonic universe, and that's basically the avatar matrix, right? It includes the cradle of Lyra and the histories of invasions which led to the fall of Lyra. For human beings, these consciousness bodies exist throughout the densities and are aspects of the higher self and light body. These aspects are called stations of identity, right? So in the fourth harmonic universe, the 10th, 11th, and 12D exists, and the three layers of the Christos avatar matrix. And, this is where the Aurora Earth matrix comes into play too, where we talked about Earth, which is the 3D version, Tara, which is the 5D version, and the auric Earth, which is the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensional version, right? So next on the list is this. Oh, wait, I didn't even talk about the 44 yet, right? 44. We were talking about the avatar matrix. So most all Earthlings, again, were blocked in their DNA and unable to access the guardian sun embodiment by age 44 or any age. And again, this is a mutation. So the new templates of embodiment are being created now. This is the founder guardian God consciousness in form. And the founders are returning to the planet to resurrect the dead and repair the DNA damage. Right? And when they mean the dead, they don't mean actual dead. They mean the dead DNA, or the people who have lost portions of themselves to genetic damage, right? They are completely neutral. So one of the things we see here is guardian or rishi sun or 0 point, right? So let's talk about the 0 point field, so we have an understanding of what 0 point means. So 0 point is the God matrix field, the source of our genesis, the central point of union within our universe, projects itself through the cosmic trinity, which acts as the threefold founder flame of the 13th, 14th, and 15th dimensional rays. This is the mother arc, the father arc, and the Christed child. This is to create the prism of multi-dimensional life throughout the universal time and space fields. The source of 0 point field is the infinite energy. It's a supply of our God creator that is contained within all living things. Love is a radiating, strengthening, and unifying force, spiraling into the upward movement towards the central point of oneness, which is called the 0 point. The force of love naturally aligns itself back into unity with the 0 point field and the unified heart of the universe. The absence of love or hatred is it's a degenerating, separative, and weakening force, which absorbs light and energy away from that central point of oneness. The more absence of love, the more absence of living, the more absence of light, and as a result, darkness is manifested through the process of fragmentation into the successive layers of density. So let's get to this last one here, which is the Ascension Taskmaster. This one was also called the Saturn Taskmaster. I do not like the name, so I named it myself because I do not want to spread that sort of notion while in these shows, right? Omar has done a tremendous amount talking about Saturn symbolism. I'm not going to let people use that symbolism while recording certain things and then giving it back to the community at large. I'm not going to do that, right? So I call this the Ascension Taskmaster. This is age 54. So during this cycle preparation of catching up, right, we're accelerating again the painful and unresolved issues, just like at age 27, right? And this sometimes can manifest as disease or sickness as an exit point. Again, so how the person chose to deal with this cycle of time determines on a spiritual level that can be accessed. The more resistance to change, the more suffering. We just talked about this. So the goal again is to alter the life. And many times awakening comes in disease and during the process of death transition. And the person receives much evolution by undergoing the learning process this way, so they may manifest a disease path that results in a rapid death of the body, or choose to exist in this disease state for many years forward to learn how to love themselves better. This goes back to the soul contract, right? This is generally it's brought on by the ancestral miasma activation as well. If they did not clear that first level at 27, they have a double level of intensity applied now. The taskmaster has no mercy at this point in its goal to mold the person to connect with spirit. And as you may note in advance, right? Biological human age after 54, these biological cycles can be repeated in order to best serve the evolution of the person. As an example, there are many biologically who are older than 54 and are now just beginning to advance into the soul initiation. However, their life stream will still obey this cycle moving forward as it's in the human DNA record. And when we understand that the true DNA of the human race has been mutated, the natural spiritual expression and cycles thereof get distorted. And you will notice that these cycles are playing out at different age levels of the biology, right? So we're seeing this happen, and it's insane. So this is the spiritual expansion portion. It's crazy, Omar. I actually started when I was closer to 27, but from 27 to 33 was a buildup, and then I guess from like 31 to 33 was like a downward slant, right? And you got the Bush crime family. I actually promoted it in the beginning of the show. Please, Omar, drop a link for your event, as I had it here, but I have so many windows open. I don't want to keep going around, but drop it in the chat for everybody so that they can partake in your event coming up, which is going to be awesome. I'm sure I will be there for sure. So next, let's bring it down to me again. So now I want to talk about what's on everybody's mind, right? What we've been hearing about for the last 2 days. Let's show it to you again. What the hell is happening here? What is happening? Now, a few things came to mind while looking at the Schumann resonance. Is this something man-made? Is this something natural? Is this a psyop to falsify the vibration of Earth to get people onto a false ascension timeline? Those three things stuck out. So I actually tried to research all three. Now, the first thing I found was they are saying that this was what's called a PAM 4 signal. And a company was using this signal to share information. This is a 54 hertz signal, which we have completely doubled over the last 10 years within communication arrays, right? So, what exactly is this PAM 4 signal? PAM 4 is a subset of a more widely used pulse amplitude modulation technology, which is an established method for transmitting signals after non-returned to zero, right? Well, I have no idea what that means, which plays an essential part in a multi-order module or modulation and is widely utilized in the interconnection of high-speed signals. Now, while looking at specific grids of how these actual signals look, there is a similarity, right? I think that Omar is. I think you're on the money with that, right? But there's another way to look at this too, right? We know that the US government has contact with extraterrestrial life. That we know now that they've been deconstructing these vehicles. What if they're testing a technology and they shot it down at the ground and it caused the earth to vibrate at a different, I guess, a different vibration? Or what if this is an extraterrestrial body shooting some sort of sensor down to earth to cause this to happening? Now, another thing I was looking at was the natural side of it. And that was a tremendous solar flare, which we'll show you in this picture. If you look all the way to the left, you'll see a gigantic flare up within the Schumann. And the sun's activity has been absolutely insane lately. It's been wild, right? So it's crazy to think that this could be both natural and technological, right? What if the flare was causing something to happen and then they go and they turn on the things down in Antarctica, right? They turn it on and it's creating interference, which is the simulation of pattern you're seeing, right? Because if we look at the top of the grid that looks like the lattice all the way to the right, you'll see these intense lower waves down there, right? Look at all the way at the top. That's a lower waved signal and how intense those are. They're white, beaming white, right? So, what if they're trying to use their mind control tactics with these negative vibrations and the earth is recalibrating itself to counter produce a wave that is nullifying theirs, right? Now, again, what if this is also the energetic grids connecting to create a super grid to push back against these specific low frequency vibrational waves? If you think I'm wrong, tell me in the chat. Hit me with it. Hit me with the reality. Because all of this is speculation, right? They want to say it's a PAM4 signal, but I've never seen anything that looks like Merkabas that we talked about in the sacred geometry episode, which is inherent with Kundalini and spiritual expansion and ascension. Insane, right? So I'm not sure. I really think it's the earth fighting back because we're an arc planet, because there's so much genetic DNA here that can't be disseminated or destroyed. When they start to use some sort of malfeasance to the planet is going to reciprocate. So it's joining these powerful grid systems to make a unigrid, to increase its own vibrational energy, to shake those waves off or shed them completely. But this could also lead to an amazing moment, and maybe it's taking power from the solar flares and pushing that energy across the surface of the planet to create an awakening ascension moment. Will this be the moment that we go back and say, do you remember those Merkaba looking things in the Schumann? That was the moment of evolution, of the next gradual elevated stance of what humanity is. I think so. Because a lot of people have had some crazy, right? Crazy, insane dreams, sensory abilities coming to the forefront. Selena, good to see you. Nicole was here before. Edgar, good to see you. You know, I have to believe that this is something inherently good because when I look at this, my heart warms and I feel like I can see into the future a little bit. right? This doesn't look bad to me. So, I mean, we're maybe they're all right, right? Maybe it's all of these different things creating this webbing effect to the energy on this planet. The vibration is fluctuating so rapidly because of all these different things, all this activity, right? So, with all that being said, again, don't forget in the chat, Omar put his event coming up about the Bush family. Go and purchase yourself a ticket. I believe it's 4 hours. I know it is going to be chocked full of information that cannot be said on the internet. It can't be said on YouTube. So you're going to get a real treat with that. And Omar is one of the best researchers I know. Super in depth, super thorough. Our event will be disclosed later this week for a week or two after Omar's to give some space in between. And please, again, like, share, subscribe, right? Leave a comment when this is finished. It is super important to get this information out, right? And I just want to tell you all that I love you all unconditionally. To the few people who I've been talking to via email, and we're going to have some conversations this week, I'm so here to help you. I'm here to help anybody who needs it, even if you just need somebody to talk to. This is my this is what I love doing, right? Diving into these topics, even on a conversation basis. So if anybody needs that help, reach out. If anybody is looking to create a community with us, reach out. If anybody needs advice on starting their own program, reach out. We're all here for each other, right? Let's be here for each other unconditionally. I love you all. I hope everybody has an amazing rest of the week. And I'll see you guys on either Friday or Sunday. I haven't decided yet. But again, we're spacing out the shows a little bit so that the research can go a little bit deeper. I want to go a little bit deeper. Bridget, good to see you. Good to see you. Again, like, share, subscribe. Super chats and thanks are still open. All donations go to the proceeds, go to this broadcast to help us get behind paywalls, to help us get information that is not readily available to the public, to basically file for Freedom of Information Acts and the paperwork that ensues after that, and lawyer fees, things like that. All good stuff, right? So, with all that being said, I hope this was an informative episode. I hope everybody got something from it. I love you all. I'll see you all next time. And this has been a wild ride. Let's keep this roller coaster going. All right. See you all next time.